Hi, I'm Dave Rousby. I'm CIMA's Regional Director for Europe, and part of my role is to be the Secretary for the UK Governance Board, and I'm here to give you an update on the most recent board that took place on the 11th of June. It was the first meeting of the committee year for the UK board, and as such it was Louise Dudley's first meeting as chair, and she was able to welcome two new members of the board, council appointees, and these were Mustafa Machala and Nick Davison. Now, as it was the first committee meeting of the year, there are some administrative things that we do need to sort out, which include the annual review of terms of reference for the UK board itself, the UK network panel, the members in practice panel, and indeed the UK areas. Now, some proposed changes were made to the UK board terms of reference and indeed the network panel. And these were in relation to the appointment of the network panel chair and also the impact on terms of office on the continuity of the board. And the UK board agreed to these changes, which will now go forward for ratifying by GMC. The UK area terms of reference were also agreed. However, we have been made aware that some possible changes do need to be made to the members in practice panel terms of reference. So these were held over to next time to address those changes. Less on administration and more looking forward and strategy, but from a strategy perspective, the key topic of the board at the meeting on June the 11th was to discuss the UK's approach to its employers. And this was preceded by looking at two pieces of research that have taken place in recent months. One piece of research being global in nature, one being UK specific. Now, the global research actually told us that there is potential and scope for CIMA to add more value relating to CPD and indeed a tailored recruitment service. And this did lead us to a discussion around CIMA My Jobs and the CIMA employer value proposition. The UK research that we looked at did show us how much UK employers do support students, and that it also suggested that we should continue to build on the strengths of the CIMA qualification and to continue to demonstrate our understanding of employer needs. The research also suggested that we do have some work to do to raise the awareness of the CGMA designation and our thought leadership output, which is something that we're determined to do. As part of that discussion, we did agree to give some thought in due course to employer needs, perhaps further out 2 to 5 years. That's something we will do in future. So we'll be talking about new trends such as the open workforce and the impact that that has on businesses, but perhaps more of that at a future board. We also discussed CIMA's website and how we support employers through that channel as well. Another key topic that was raised at the board meeting was that of the new assessment regime following the revised syllabus and the changes that that has brought about. Now, the CIMA board does benefit from having 2 students on it, and indeed now one of the council appointees it works for a tuition provider, so we had plenty of insight into that particular topic. And it did lead us to a discussion as to how support for students and indeed tuition providers could change for the better, and a discussion relating to papers P3 and F3 also took place given the recent announcements that CIMA has made in relation to those papers. And I think there's some work to do around communication to students in that area, but I know my colleagues across CIMA are working very hard in that particular area. The UK board also went on to discuss the UK student survey results from 2014. Now, these were actually taken at a time before the new assessment regime and the revised syllabus, so there was something to be wary of there. But the survey results were actually very positive, and indeed an increase in the UK in 2014 over 2013. So satisfaction is actually very high among students. Now, naturally, as you would expect, students particularly value exam support, exam advice, and the resources that CIMA provides for students. And the board were very keen that I talked to colleagues in CIMA to ensure that now we have the new assessment regime, that advice and the resources that were particularly valued in 2014 and before are equally valued and available going forward, and that's something that I undertook to do. The student survey also did mention that we needed to make changes in terms of the contact centre, about speed of response, and that's something that I can confirm we have actually taken action about as well. The student survey also suggested that students studying with a tuition provider had high levels of satisfaction. Indeed, 85% of those studying with a tuition provider were actually satisfied, or indeed very satisfied with their tuition provider, which was great to hear. So that provides a summary of the UK board from June the 11th. The next board meeting is scheduled to be early October. Do please look out for my update at that point. In the meantime, if you have any thoughts, queries, do please make contact with me. My contact details follow shortly. Thank you very much.